Right, so a special good morning to you. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. When you are in a company, right, or you have a show and you have beautiful people introduce you, it gets, very exciting. All these beautiful ladies on Pan-African television and the handsome Ivan introducing the champion to come and sit on my throne and host the newspaper review segment is really very exhilarating for me this morning. So I'm super excited. I'm over the moon. I'm filled with joy. It's a feel-good atmosphere for me this morning, and I'm excited to bring to you the newspaper review segment here on Pan-African television. My name again is Kwame Owusu Danso. You can call me Champion KOD. You know how I respond. She. A big salutation to all our cherished viewers. And every time I like to do this, because without you, the morning show wouldn't have been what it is now. So I like to always extend my heartfelt thank yous and greetings to all of you who are watching me each and every time. Now, on the basis of this, I want to especially also extend a voice of greetings to Alhaji Abi Fuseni. You are in your constituency this morning. I'd like to say a special good morning to you, and I trust you're doing well. Also, Bernard Mona, who is lacing his boots to take over the the leadership of Nadoli Kaliu constituency. Bernard Mona, good morning to you. You have won that seat. I told you, I'll tell you every day that you don't have to stress yourself. It's a foregone conclusion. You've won that particular seat, right? And also to you, Sabo Adams, I think you're also watching this morning, but you are indisposed. You cannot be able to make it this morning. That's okay. I have wonderful guys also sitting and represent your parties to the best of their abilities this morning. I've been joined in the studios by the incoming MP for Akuapem North constituency on the ticket of the PNC. His name is Desmond. Desmond, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
I trust you're doing well.
Yes.
I love what you're wearing.
Thank you,
it's really
brother.
nice.
Thank you,
my brother. You get swaggle.
Oh, how for do?
Idrisu Salifu Protocol is also here seated, representing the New Patriotic Party. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Q.
I trust you're well.
I'm doing good.
Very well.
Yeah.
We're expecting Naziru Mohammed to also join us. He will be representing the NDC on the show. Let's quickly address some fundamental issues here. Okay, let's deal with an African story. Or before that, let me actually take you through the topics that we've tabled for our conversation. I will substitute what is happening in Liberia with what is happening in Uganda, particularly because of what I describe as the impact that it will have, or that it appears to have, on the electoral processes on the continent, and how they've all, taking the same, if you will, the same shape. It appears that what is happening in Uganda is not different from what happened recently in Ivory Coast and in most of these African countries. So maybe we'll have to marry the two issues, because the first one, which has to do with Liberia, has got to do with a matter that was sent to the Supreme Court in view of a referendum, that will seek to make some constitutional changes to decrease the length of term of the president and senators. But the court has actually ruled in favor of the opposition. So we will get into this particular one. A court that does not support a government in power is a court that is worthy of mention. So we'll get into that. But I think it's also very important that we deal with that issue as well. So Liberia court cancels vote to cut president's term. Daily Graphic says that corruption, Kweku Azar Odike Pamel Akufo-Addo over Ghana's poor ranking. The Inside reported the story, and this story is featuring boldly on the front page of the Inside newspaper. Amidu accuses Akufo-Addo of sending killers after him. The Crystal Clear Lens story reported that EC dismisses claims of missing names of security personnel. Daily Analyst reported that. So we're going to kickstart the conversation from the African perspective, because, like I said, whatever happens on the continent affects each other, affect each other, or if you will, affect other countries as well. So it's always important that we draw some huge lessons from the happenings in the other African countries. So we started the conversation from Liberia. Maybe we'll end in East Africa, which is Uganda, and see what is happening there as well. Now, let me on the basis of this, read a little bit of the story in Liberia, for instance, so that we can be fully apprised with the full facts and speak to the facts thereof. The Liberian Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the opposition to postpone a referendum on constitutional changes to decrease the length of the term of the president and senators. The referendum cannot take place until a public education and awareness campaign takes place on the proposed changes. The court ruled in a unanimous judgment. The referendum has been slated for December 8th. The court also ruled that the ballot violated the law by presenting multiple referendum questions on the same sheet of paper. There was no immediate reaction from the government, and it was not clear if another referendum would be organized. The proposed changes seek to reduce the president's tenure from 6 to 5 years, the tenure of senators from 9 to 7 years. Other changes proposed included allowing people to hold dual citizenship. The case had been filed by the collaborating political party CPP. Liberian lawyers, the Journalists Union, and the Council of Churches had also called for the postponement of the referendum. For me, what is instructive is the legal marriage or consummation between government, opposition parties, and the court, and the fact that this particular marriage was not marred by our incessant demand for control and our incessant demand for some level of power, to characterize our governance process. And by this I mean that we are not using the political influences that we have to usurp the authorities of others. By this I mean that allowing the state institutions to operate freer and fairer. By this I mean that the voice of dissent, was not curtailed by reason of their opposition. The fact that the system has been allowed to operate, and the fact that the court also demonstrated that without recourse to any whims and caprices, they can be as independent as possible, and they can rule on a matter on the basis of the facts as so presented. So for me, these are some of the huge lessons that I want us to draw from what has transpired in Liberia. And I don't know if you want to share in my thoughts or you have a different opinion in respect of same.
Let me say a very good morning to yourself and your viewers out there. And
If you can speak up a bit for me.
yes, let me say a very good morning to yourself and your viewers out there, as well as my people in the Kwame North constituency, from Obosumase down to Okrase to Ekropong and the other surrounding areas. Kwame,
Too close.
also a very good morning to my brother Protocol, who decided to run away from PNC, but thankfully we are here together this morning, and I hope that we'll do a very nice show. Kwame, the issues on the floor. Liberia, if we quite remember the history of Liberia and where Liberia has gotten to as we speak now, I think that we ought to look at things in a different perspective. Why am I saying this? If you look at the history of Liberia and what most African nations, especially Ghana, has done for them, I think that they should be taking lessons from what happened previously before going into whatever decision that a president who has taken office will do. Because look, like you said, if we have independent courts who can decide to be on their own, courts who can say that look, green is green. So no matter what it is, I'm not going to say it's red, but rather it's green. I think that we need to applaud them for what they have done. And for me, Liberian court has shown the way, and most African countries and across the world should also take a cue from it and a clue from it and do the needful. Kwame, African leaders, when you want power, you go the length and breadth of your country to campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
You tell your people the sweet words that you can boast of. And when you are given the power and you sit on the throne, you realize that power sweet, as they say, because power sweet, you sit down, and when it is about time for your tenure to end, you decide to come up with so many, decisions. Like you rightfully said, if the opposition, the government, as well as the court, because they didn't agree on one aspect on how to go about this, the court decided that, look, we should cut off this voting, that the referendum that they were going to do. And it has even happened in Ghana before. There was going to be a referendum. The people said, we don't need it. And so if the people decide that they don't need it, and the court is able to listen to the voice of the people, I think that is in order. Because Liberia, as we all know, is in a state where they are now trying to patch up their pieces. Some years back, the country was dead. Thank God, most African countries on, United Nations and other, countries came to their aid. They brought on their female president, Sarif. And then at the end of the day, she handed power to Oponria. Now, when the woman's tenure office was over, she handed over to you. Now, you are saying that you want to extend.
No, I think that what he's rather calling for is a reduction.
He's calling for a reduction,
in the number of years.
Okay, so
that people can become president, and in the number of years that senators. Because he wants it reduced from 6 to 5 years.
No, but
and he wants the tenure of the senators be moved from 9 to 7 years.
Fine, but the point is that if I see a wisdom in that, but you ought to sit down with the people. You need to do mass education. You need to educate the people so that they will really understand what is going on before you can even take it to court. But if you take it to court, or you decide that there should be a referendum and the people don't really understand, it is going to happen like the way it happened in Ghana. Whereas people didn't really understand why we wanted to vote for MCEs and DCEs, and at the end of the day, we just have to forget about those things.
But one can safely also assume that politics is about interest. To a very large extent. It's about interest. It's about what one person will get, whilst in office. And the benefits that, the accompanying benefit that office also, gives. So, can't one also say that if you look at the resistance that is emanating from the quarters of, for instance, the opposition, they are doing so because they know that at some point they may come to power, and they may want to also enjoy the 6 years that that the other leaders have had.
Okay.
The 6 years for the president.
That's right.
That the others have had. Bear in mind also that the only time that electorates and the citizens are able to freely express themselves is when they get the opportunity to go and exercise their democratic right by voting for somebody that they like.
That's right.
And so even if they are displeasured about the political processes in their country, they may not immediately find solution in addressing that problem, because they may have to now wait for 6 years before they can change any leader if they so will. So from where I sit, one would have thought that this is perhaps better to reduce the number of years given to political actors and players, so that accountability will not be far-fetched, will not be far out of sight, will be nearer, so people can...
Well, I agree with you to an extent, but have we looked into their constitution? You know, they just returned to civilian rule not quite too long. And so maybe based on what they saw, they came out with a constitution that will enable their MPs or presidents to be in power for a longer term, so that at the end of the day, like, you know, in this country, we realized that there was a time President Kufuor said that even the 4 years mandate is too short for someone to develop a country. Do you remember he said that some years back when President Kufuor was in power? Yes. And so for them having 6 years and they want to reduce it, well, then it depends on what they have seen. Because for me, I think that it is in their constitution, and their constitution mandates them that every tenure of office for a president is supposed to be 6 years. However, if the president has seen wisdom and he's saying that, look, let's reduce it to 4 or 5 years, I think that they ought to do a thorough education, make sure people really understand why he wants to reduce it, so that at the end of the day they can go into a referendum where people will not return to those days of Liberia that we used to know. Because now, as we speak, you know, in Africa, any little thing can spark something. It is only in Ghana that most of the times we are safe, because look, in some countries the slightest change that comes into the way they are being governed can spark a whole lot of things. So for me, I think that Liberia, and as a matter of fact, they need to do more education and make sure that the people understand why they want to reduce their system of governance.
Thank you very kindly. Senior, Idrisu Protocol. Let me remind viewers also that I've seen Nazir Mohammed from the corner of my eye. He's getting ready to join us too. Please, let's hear from you.
Let me say good morning to you. Good morning to my mischief former national organizer. And let me also extend courtesies, because I've spotted some mischief that you wanted to carry across. Let me extend.
It's a system of fact. You were with the PS.
No, you were with her.
No, you
at
know,
a point,
I thought you gauged his demeanor when he was saying that.
What was it?
Well, I wouldn't want to waste time on that. I think that I want to also extend courtesies to my boss, Dr. Ibrahim Anyas, who is contesting.
Oh, Anyas is your boss?
Yes, who is contesting for the second time for the good people of Tamale Central constituency, to give him the mandate to be elected into the Legislative Assembly, which we call Parliament. Of course, he has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that he is a person who actually have the people at heart.
What did he do to demonstrate that?
As a matter of fact, the good people of Tamale Central can attest to the things that I'm just going to mention.
But they are not here to testify.
They will testify. And I know you would open. You would open for people to give text messages, etc. Yes, and they will be able to vouch for what I'm going to say.
Okay.
I think Doctor, through his own initiatives, have over the period organized free medical care for the good people of the constituency, and that is very remarkable. He has also, decided to create what he calls the business support scheme, to be able to ensure that, especially the women within the constituency, to be able to have some kind of a seed capital to be able to, engage in economic activities in the constituency. Of course, he has also promised, when elected into the Legislative Assembly, that is Parliament, aside the legislative functions, he is going to, as it were, establish, daycare centers dotted across the constituency. And coupled with that, he is going to ensure that buses would be designated to places where, you know, this case would be, you know, would be taken to the school, you know, and then, you know, taken back.
As a member of parliament.
As a member of parliament.
Where is he going to get that money? How much are they paid?
Fantastic. And that is the kind of industrious person that we are talking about. So, and he also intend, because look, in education, people think that education is just a matter of, you know, the intellectual abilities that people ought to have. But I mean, I'm an educationist because of course, I've had a degree in education. The teachings that I've gotten from education tells me that the most important critical point of education is actually meant to benefit, or to, as it were, what is it called? To come out with 3 critical issues to be able to solve. That is the psychomotor skills, the cognitive domain, and, you know, and the other one, which is not really. So these are some of the things that we're talking about. But
I mean, it's not a subject matter for discussion.
It's not.
It's not that sometimes I get very angry when members of parliament go about promising, when we know, in fact, that their job is not.
I'm telling you that he's a doer.
Providing.
He is a doer because he has demonstrated to the
what's the work of a legislature?
Of course, that is just basically what he's strictly to make laws, but sometimes we don't seem to.
So that we deceive the people.
No, Mr. K.
When he comes and he's trying to do it, then we start.
Have you ever questioned the reason why MPs are given, you know, that particular cliche called MPs Common Fund?
What are they supposed to use it for?
Even the fact that, you know, we've all come to agree to the fact that MPs are specifically to enact laws. They have also seen some wisdom in the fact that they are also supposed to be, in want of a better expression, development agents within the constituencies that they are coming from. That actually gave that particular idea of the MP's Common Fund to be able to solve certain basic or hydra-headed problems.
Do you know my disagreement with that? Do you know my disagreement with that?
Of course, it's a matter
of
move from there.
It's a matter of my disagreement with that disagreement with that.
Yes,
it is as a result of some of these things, which is why we don't have members of parliament independently thinking to do things in the interest of the generality of Ghanaians. They think just about the political parties that they belong to and how they can win the next seat.
No,
because so they have to do things that will benefit the people, not necessarily going to parliament and passing laws that will affect the generality of Ghanaians. It is very partisan, you see, and we have to eschew that from our body politic. The point I'm trying to emphasize is that we must get to a point where the office of members of parliament will be clearly defined, such that Ghanaians will best know, or Ghanaians will be in the know, that this is what MPs are supposed to do. MPs are not supposed to be persons who will come and promise you that I'm going to be building new hospitals and things like that. MPs don't build hospitals. MPs can, at best, lobby their government to be able to send those things there.
Yeah.
Don't deceive. You go about deceiving the people, and I'm not referring to Dr. Anyas.
Yeah.
I'm not referring to him.
No, I know you're speaking in general.
I'm saying that people go there, they deceive people. Yeah. I will vouch and vote for people who have independently, without being in power or in office, right, done something for the community. Then I can confidently or safely assume that when that person wins and becomes a member of parliament, he does it anyway. Like my very good friend, what's his name? Alhaji Baba Seidu Isifu, right? Even now, he does things. Okay, so for such a person, if they vote for him, whether they vote for him or not, he will do it anyway. But when you vote for somebody like that, you are confident that whether or not he's a member of parliament, aside the fact that he's going to be a legislator, he's also going to ensure that he continues with the development projects in the constituency. So I don't know whether that is how Dr. Anyas is.
Exactly, I've just cataloged some of the things that he has done.
Let's proceed.
No, I'm just telling that on that score, some of the things that he has done.
On that score, Alhaji Baba, and
I'm continuing to do.
I think Alhaji Baba said this.
You understand?
Yeah, the incoming MP for Naledebu Gambaga constituency. Please, very quickly.
Yes, I think that you know, when you table that particular issue,
I love it too.
Mr. Kennedy, the Liberian issue.
Yes, my boss.
Of course, Liberia, as we all know, has a checkered history when it comes to democracy, rule of law, and even human rights abuses. So for me, I think that I am taken aback as to why there is that kind of opposition to the propositions that has been made to the good people of Liberia. But democratic and, if you like, development watchers have variously come to a particular consensus in terms of the longevity of democratic processes of public officers within of a country. That also, I believe, it also at a point in time had some expression within Ghana, where certain quarters, which my brother have mentioned, there was a proposition that instead of the 4-year tenure of every government, why not make it 5 years? Now, it is difficult to make a juxtaposition with happenings in Ghana and that of Liberia, because with the Liberian situation, I don't know their psyche in terms of how they think development should be. But for me, I think that a certain semblance of longevity would be able to ensure some form of, development in one way or the other for the good people of the country. But like I said, certain watchers within the democratic free who have also come out to, as it were, issue out certain papers and literatures about democracy itself, tells you that if we are not careful, so for example, the likes of Baron Pierre de Montesquieu, who is a very, very well-known person when it comes to law and governance. Another person by name A.V. Dicey. These are some of the people, if you read their literature, you would come to appreciate the fact that democracy is not just a mere tool to be used, but it is a tool that is supposed to ensure that you are able to, solve the hydra-headed problems that confront the people that you elect yourself to serve. That is how come there was that particular idea which they postulated, that it is very dangerous for people or governments to accumulate so much or to wield so much power, because at the end of the day it will be detrimental to the growth and development of the country. So I think that with the situation in Liberia, I would only want to plead with them that they should be guided by their own history and see how best they can have a very good consensus on this particular matter. Otherwise, if Liberia, enters into any form of turmoil, it is going to have a cascading effect economically to the African bloc. So I think that at this particular point in time, it's about time they should sit down to see how best way forward in terms of the kind of democracy that would be very much suited to their environment than maybe somebody wanting to, as it were, issue out or make a proposition that possibly would either be seen as a process, if you like, that would benefit them, that would benefit a particular class, or that would inure to their own personal idiosyncrasies. That for me it would be a very worrying trend. If it was the thinking of that particular proposition, it would be very wrong. So I think that the good people of Liberia have spoken. The government of the day needs to respect the legal processes and the legal regime that has actually made a definite what is it called, point on that particular matter. So all in all, I think that they would need to, as it were, like I said, tread cautious.
That Pan-African television broadcasts across 32 African countries, and so we have people watching us from Liberia and things like that. So there's a gentleman called Malcolm B. Weller, who is a Liberian citizen who lives in Liberia currently, and as we speak now, he's in Liberia. And he says, following from Liberia, I wish to contribute meaningfully to inform your discussion. I'll give him the opportunity to do so, but after we listen to my brother and friend Naziru. So Malcolm, just give me a few minutes. The producers will reach out to you so that we can join the conversation and share with us what is really happening on the grounds in Liberia in respect of these constitutional issues that are arising in Liberia. So, Honorable, let's hear from you, and then we can call my brother Malcolm B. Weller from Liberia, please.
Having said a very big good morning to our cherished viewers, I would also apologize unreservedly because
You are not usually late, so we can understand.
Good. I mistook the time, 8:30, 8 o'clock, so just forgive me. Liberia is something else. I want to believe that, look, there are many things that we should take into consideration when discussing the issue of Liberia, especially when it comes to tenure of office. I say so because not long ago, Liberia as a country was struggling for human resources so that they can even be placed in their various MMDCs and the various businesses that they have requires a lot of people to get the businesses running. And we all know, as a result of the war and the aftermath of things that transpired in Liberia, it's very difficult to even get ordinary Liberians come together, build the nation. I think that was the reason, one of the reasons why the tenure of office looks 7 years as against 4 that we are doing in Ghana and the like. But in the long run, I think if Liberians themselves have come to the realization that they would need shorter time for a president, so collectively they can determine whether this particular leader can lead us to our destination or not in a shortest possible time in order to achieve the overall objective of Liberia as a country. But if they also have found out maybe the timing is too much and they will need to quickly cut it to ensure that in the shortest possible time every elected leader must live up to his expectation. If you look around the world and see the timing, you would come to a realization that indeed if one tenure of a Liberian president is almost like the 2 terms of a Ghanaian president, and we've not also collectively seen, you know, relative to the tenure of the time in office, we've not seen any tremendous change that it has done to our West African neighbor, such that it becomes the norm. I think it's the wisdom of experience and grown democracy, that you do it within the shortest possible time in order to avoid the tendency where you have a tyrant leader, you have a leader who does not have the nation at heart, and you have to wait all this long. It will be very difficult for them. So for me, I believe that if you do a critical analysis, collectively the opposition parties are for education, detailed education, to ensure that when voters go to vote, they know exactly what they want, they understand the issues, and make a decision on this referendum, which will go a long way in building and upgrading Liberia's political landscape. But all in all, we would say we wish them good luck. It is the democratic process. That is what we expect all African countries to begin to adopt, in the sense that we don't go pick our arms, machetes, just because we disagree with a certain principle. It should continue in these democratic lines, and whatever the end result is, Liberians, Africans in general, should know that it is our responsibility to build what is ours. We cannot continue to blame our own misfortune on slavery. We cannot continue to blame our own misfortune on the inabilities or the inadequacies of our forebearers. We have a duty today. I remember when Mwalimu Julius Nyerere visited Ghana the last time before his untimely death. One of the things he was talking about is the fact that during their time when Nkrumah was leading the path for African unification, they did not understand him. Yes, indeed, there were some foreign influences though, but they themselves did not understand what he meant, because Kwame Nkrumah was like a university graduate among elementary students. I mean, they were all president, but when they go meet as a people, they find the vast difference in the thinking of Kwame Nkrumah. But at the end of the day, what he said is that his generation fought for the liberation of the continent, and our generation today must fight for the unification and the progress of our continent. It is our duty. It must be done, and it must be done well.
Thank you very much. Let's now cross over to Liberia, where Mr. Malcolm B. Weller is on standby to bring us up to speed with what is currently happening in Liberia in respect of the constitutional referendum that was to be held, which the court has decided to overrule. If we have Mr. Malcolm Biwala on. Hello, good morning. Hello. He's not on? Okay, so we're still trying to get through to Liberia to speak to Malcolm Biwala. Malcolm Biwala reached out to us that he wants to contribute meaningfully to the conversation. Malcolm, stop calling the WhatsApp number. They're going to call you. Stop calling the WhatsApp number. They're going to call you. So as and when we get through to Malcolm, we'll make sure that we speak to him.
But it will interest you to note that I am beginning to believe that, look, let's fashion out democratic processes and procedures that best suits us. I am beginning to gravitate towards the longer a president serves, the better the country will benefit. I'm beginning to believe it, because you take the likes of Russia, the likes of Israel, with all their challenges, and the success story is as a result of the fact that they have a system that can make a leader, stay on for long. So if you are lucky and collectively you have a visionary leader.
I don't know if you have gone through the Daily Graphic well, or if you're following events in Uganda.
But it's not brutal. Correct?
It's brutal. I mean, Museveni, this old Museveni, does not want the system to change. I mean, everybody's clamoring for change in Uganda. They want a new Uganda. They want to see things done differently. But they're using the brutal force of the military to subvert the will, the true will of the people in Uganda. As I speak to you now, Bobby Wine has been arrested. As I speak to you now, there's another honorable who has been arrested in Uganda. So it begs the question as to what we truly want as Africans, what we truly need. Are we in power to serve the interest, to serve the people, and to address the myriad of concerns of the people? Or we are in power just to enrich ourselves, we are in power just to ensure that people who are closer to us benefit from the spoils of the state to the detriment of the masses whose only crime was to find themselves in Uganda, and whose only crime was not to belong to the ruling class. So it beats me how till today we are still having to grapple with these old dwarfs. Well, not dwarfs. That's very hard. But these old people, these old,
not dwarf either, because he's taller than you and I.
These octogenarians and septuagenarians, taking over. No, because these guys have seen it all. Museveni, what does he need?
You see, there's one thing we need to begin to understand.
It's
Most
crazy.
of them, Museveni's and his peers, came to power with a struggle that saw them leading at the peril of their lives. And for that matter, they find it as though it's a bona fide property that they've gone to fight for. So how can they release it easily for any other person? But I think the issue with Uganda is totally different, in the sense that they have seen a particular system in a straitjacket for a very long time. And for that matter, what they are seeing from other countries sought to impress them to believe that, look, we can do things differently and get a different result. I mean, we will all be told that if you continue in the same manner and having the same formula, you're going to have the same results all the time. Museveni issue is different. The people of Uganda themselves can decide, and then when we move forward, they can also adopt. But what I am really focusing on is the tenure of office. Even in Ghana, I would, if the opportunity come, I would advocate for at least 5 years.
You see, the reason why
at least 5 years.
I can appreciate that, and I think that Desmond also aptly raised those issues and made references to the position of former President J.A. Kufuor, right?
Yeah.
To the effect that we needed to extend the tenure of office for president. I can agree with that. But you see, I feel that you can only extend the tenure of office of any political actor or player when their reign is characterized by general change and general proper development being brought to the people. Because why would I allow you to be in power for 8 years when I'm struggling? The only time that I can express myself, right, in that particular process, is that's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making. The only time I can, because in this country, for instance, how else? No president can be impeached in this country. I don't know if you're following me.
You cannot make a definite.
No, my brother. With the kind of political who? When you go to Parliament needs about, is it two-thirds majority? You can't have that. You
are making a point based on precedent that we've had.
Well, but the exigencies now that doesn't allow for that to happen.
The party in power always have majority in parliament.
Absolutely.
So that when the dynamics change,
yes,
I don't think we would all assume our parliament is still the rubber stamp we think it is. It could change.
Will it change? Yes, I think it can only change when we have a constitutional review where we would say that at least let's give a fraction of parliament to the smaller political parties. Do you get what I'm saying? So that we say that CPP, PNC, APC, GUM, and all the other political parties that are springing up should also have a certain percentage. Which percentage will not even be?
The bigger parties struggle for the percentage that they have. The smaller party plays very big role. My brother here, Desmond, will tell you that most of the things that you see at IPAC, at the inter-party level, that you see smoothly going on is through the contribution of the smaller parties. It's left with the two bigger parties. It's not going to be as easy and smooth as we are seeing it. So the smaller parties must also learn how to negotiate. That is the key issue that for me is lacking with the activities of the smaller parties. Because, for instance, if the CPP, for instance, if the PNC, the other smaller parties, the election is going for a second round, why don't you negotiate? Look, we are coming to back you, but we know your seat at Bantama is safe. For saving you today, we hope and pray that you will relinquish that seat at Bantama in our name, so that we can only have one member of parliament. This is a good negotiation, thinking about the party at the longer run. But if the negotiation ends at what is in it for us and the leadership of the party right there and then thinking about what will be in it for them, then the bigger picture of saving the political landscape is not given the necessary consideration.
And I think that if this will agree with me on this one, if only our leaders, when given the opportunity to govern, do so in the general interest and the general good of the good people of this country, or wherever, whichever country, right? Then I believe that the people will not have no qualms at all when we want to extend the tenure of office for any political player. I don't know if I'm making sense to you. But when people come into power and within the first 2 years, you find that they are acting, in the exact opposite of the very thing that they said they were going to do for you, then it begs the question as to whether or not you would want to have their continuing stay in office. That's always the question. And the only time you can duly express yourself is when you can vote. Because in this country, for instance, how else? How else? But you cannot go to the Flagstaff House and go and beat the president. You can't do anything. You only have to wait.
You have a member of parliament who represents your opinion.
But a member of parliament, for instance, if you are in opposition, with the greatest of respect to you, sir, now that the NDC is in opposition, right?
Yeah.
All the members of parliament from NDC are struggling. So, in terms of lobbying for things to be sent to their constituencies, because you know that the kind of political system that we have is one that is in quote and unquote deceitful. That somebody will come to you and let's be factual, let's be frank. Somebody will come to you and make promises, right? Those promises oftentimes are only fully fulfilled when the member of parliament has his political party in power. Then they can lobby. But oftentimes when they are in opposition, it's very difficult, to say the least.
You and I agree here.
I'll come to
the prime objective of a member of parliament is to make law.
No, we have agreed on that already.
Correct. So there's no auxiliary issues as to the core.
But the continuing stay in office by the MP is also finds expression in the kind of things that he can lobby to bring to his constituency. Let's also not belabor that argument, because that is the reality.
The people today, before they vote, feels that this is it, the bread and butter, eyeball to eyeball issues. Is more of their concentration than the job you're going to do in Parliament.
Absolutely.
That is the fact on the ground.
But who created that? And I'm happy we're having this conversation. So maybe all of us can take a bite from this bigger pie, right? Point is that we have created a system of impoverishment, and I'll explain that. A system of impoverishment where the average Ghanaian is extremely poor and at the mercy of political parties and players. So the political parties and players will go promising the people that will do ABCD for you. So like you rightly opined, which I greatly share in, you stated that the issue
yes, I'm here.
always has got to do with bread and butter matters, right?
Yeah.
So the person wakes up in the morning, doesn't have money, a political party comes to you and gives you 20 Ghana cedis. To you are benefiting
directly.
So you don't care what happens. Right, I think we are fortunate. We have Mr. Malcolm B from Liberia on air. Hello? No? Yes? No? Yeah, but I don't know if I'm making sense to you guys. So the levels of poverty in this country is what is not making us make proper political choices that will help even posterity. So we like to benefit now and forget that tomorrow our children may not necessarily benefit.
You see, for me, it is the level of consciousness that we can all, because in this same country, within this same fourth Republican dispensation, we've had leaders that Rawlings passed away and everybody is saying that, oh, this is what you've been able to do that's, inspired and impressed us so much that losing you is an issue. We are seeing the likes of Martin Amidu.
Yes, I'm here.
Also
are you getting me?
Coming out with what they have. It is within this same fourth Republican dispensation.
For me,
I'm here. You getting me?
I think that this point that I'm going to make is very significant in the.
Okay, right. I have Mr. Malcolm B. Weller from Liberia join us now. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. And let me say good morning to all of your studio participants. And let me also extend thanks and appreciation for, this discussion. So, you are all discussing this issue, almost flowing in the same pattern. But the real thing here is that citizens and the political parties, those political parties that ran to the court, are not against the reduction of tenure of elected officials. As a matter of fact, this is not the only issue.
Okay.
So this referendum also takes into consideration dual citizenship.
Yeah.
But the point of contention here is that the timeliness of the referendum is the major point of contention. And one of the issues raised here by our citizens were also mentioned by one of your studio discussants. They are also complaining that there was not much information provided surrounding this entire referendum.
Okay. Now let me ask you this.
Additionally, Liberia is also going to a midterm senatorial election. So voters are also complaining that we cannot be going to a midterm senatorial election, going to elect senators, at the same time going to vote on some of the proposition in amending the constitution. But what I want to state clearly that the people of Liberia, including those political parties who ran to the court, they are not against, the reduction of the tenure. For instance, the tenure of the presidency is 6 years.
Yeah.
So the president is asking that it be reduced to 5.
Yes.
For senator, it's 9 years. He's asking that it be reduced to 7. For the representative is also 6 years. It's been reduced to 5 years. As a matter of fact, citizens are even saying that this should have been, a more reduction. So we have been discussing from 6 to 4 years, like you are having in Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our point of contention here is not that We don't want the reduction. As a matter of fact, we all yearn for that, but it is not timely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect.
So I'll pause and take some questions if you have any.
Well, do you guys want to ask him any question?
No, I mean, it's clear.
I think you are very clear. You are very clear.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We'll stay in touch for you to update us on what is happening in Liberia. We're grateful. Thank you very much. So we just spoke to Malcolm Biwala, who is in Liberia now. He was watching the morning show, wanted to share with us what is transpiring in Liberia relative to the constitutional conversations that they are having in that country. But I think that is very successfully delivered. Thank you very much. You wanted to make a point, Idrisu, on the issue that we're talking, and it's not that issue has not been tabled for discussion. But I think that it's also very incidental, goes to the heart of our political conversation. So we have to have that conversation. We're going into an election, and somewhat the destinies of this of the younger people in this country will be determined by the people who are so able to vote now. And so we have to find out what is informing somebody's decision to vote for a political party. Which political party's activities will invariably affect my 1-year-old or 2-year-old child? Will his decision be informed by the fact that that political party has given him money? Will his decision be informed by the fact that that political party is a family political party, and therefore by reason of that they have to vote for that political party? Is his decision for voting for a political party going to be based on the policies and promises and ideas that has been put forward by these political parties and have been effectively and successfully executed for the benefit of the average Ghanaian? So these are very fundamental issues that we have to discuss. That somebody is not going to vote for somebody because of money. If money decides your fate, then when the money is no longer available, how are you going to ensure that you survive? And you see, all these things that we are doing, all our market women, the farmers in the villages, right? The people who are deprived in this country, all depend on all of us to tell them the truth at all material times. Even though most of them are more intelligent than we are, however, we are privileged because we are sitting here and we have a social, moral contract with them to be able to, at all material times. So let's be frank and fair, right? You want to make a point, yes, and make that point succinctly, and let's proceed.
I like the way you have captured the whole discussion. I think that it is very significant because electors needs to actually know what is it that political parties are actually offering. Yeah. Now, let me expose a particular hypocrisy for you to see the kind of, thinking that people within this country are engaged in. Just last week or last 2 weeks, the free senior high school students who completed and their results started trickling in. NDC, if you had gone through social media, they were not happy about the successes that this particular free SHS students are choking. Is it because they hated free SHS to such an extent that whatever good thing that comes out of it, they must poo-poo it? Please, this is not party policy, a deliberate political stance that I'm taking. But these are future leaders of this country who would be able to make it in life if indeed they have a particular modicum of education for themselves. So why do we always want to portray as if to suggest that if a particular policy is not coming from my stock, then that particular policy is bad? That is, I respond to it. I know. So with a great respect to you, I know you respond to it. That's why I'm happy you're quiet, so that when he finishes, you will respond. Now coming back, and that's one too. Yes, coming back to the issue of the MPs, their work, and how come we are not able to see semblance of development, etc., etc. I think that this particular problem largely has to do with the way Ghana have decided to adopt a particular democratic system or style. Possibly that is the reason why these kind of infractions are happening. Now there is this particular, for want of a better word, animal that is within parliament called, the whip system. The whip system, to a larger extent, tends to benefit, and of course I'm just speaking as a Ghanaian in this context, tends to benefit the political party that these MPs are coming from. So why is it that we cannot also advocate for us to shift, to have a paradigm shift from the way and manner in which our governance structures are being done? Because separation of powers in its strictest sense or application suggests that if we allow a particular group or a particular organ to accumulate or wield so much power, it is actually very dangerous. So that is how come certain jurisdictions, they are practicing a monocephalous executive kind of democracy, whilst others are practicing a bicephalous executive. Ghana is a classical country that is practicing the presidential system of government. If we are able to decouple that particular problem and solve it in such a way that MPs, once you are elected as an MP, you no longer have any business to do with the executive. That is to say that you will not hold position as a legislator and at the same time being as a legislator, that is MP, and then being an executive. That, for me, to a larger extent, would be able to solve these particular problems that we always cry upon.
The principle of constitutionalism. I'm sure
this current system is based on some precedent.
Absolutely.
That defies your position, because under Liman, we were practicing what you said we should do. But we had points where the country was brought to a standstill because of extreme positions that people have taken. So you see,
but I think that the MP government at that time, I think that the exigence of the time, the exigencies of exactly. We can explore that going forward. Exactly. No, because we are
we don't go back. There's something we are all refusing to understand.
What is it?
Money, yes, plays a role in our political activities, but let me tell you,
tribalism
is the key issue.
I agree.
Tribalism, people are voting for safety. How would I feel safe under this group of people?
I agree.
Do you understand?
I agree.
That plays a critical role.
That's a fact.
Until we address that issue to come to the understanding that we have a country that we need to build by ourselves, then we will continue to have these problems, and it will take laws and measures to ensure that collectively we get where we want to get.
No, that's a very positive. Let me come to this point.
I think that we ought to look into our constitution.
Yeah,
there should be some changes in our constitution. It is long overdue. Secondly, I don't think that as an MP or member of parliament, lobbying is just about lobbying to the government.
So if you go to somebody who is revered in that sense, in the strictest sense of the word, right, and he's telling you that this guy, even though he's not a member of parliament, has been able to do A, B, C D for us, build boreholes, blah 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 blah, all those things, build dams and things like that for us. So I'm confident and that when he gets a bigger opportunity, he'll do more. For me, I should take his word, isn't it?
Yes, in the same case of
I would be very
I'll come to
in the same case of Anyas that he will be mentioned. And I'll use this opportunity to rebut the issue of free SHS at the time. The same issue is talking about Anyas.
I'll give you 4 minutes.
I want to believe Anyas is contesting Tamale Central. Yeah. Isn't it? Murtala Mohammed, who is the candidate for the NDC, as we speak, is constructing about 5 boreholes in the constituency.
It's a lie.
Well, you have said
it's a huge lie.
See, that is where the problem is coming from, because he doesn't think
it's a
human being enough
Lord have
to
mercy.
be able to do that, but he thinks Anas is a human being enough to be able to do, and we should not contest it. That is where the problem is to come. I speak to you.
I am an indigenous Central constituency.
On my platform, I like to give opportunity to everybody.
Yes, but
I've done that. I've given you one opportunity
for us.
With great respect to you.
Yes.
He doesn't live in Tamale Central. You do.
Yes.
He's only telling you what
I
he
didn't
knows.
even say. I can't name it.
Okay.
I didn't even say it.
Okay.
Do you understand?
How can you come?
Because going for
national TV.
Murtala Muhammad, as I speak to you, what he did in Nanton, where he was able to mobilize the women to give them credit You know, because of Islam, we have this issue of interest on
Profit.
profit and stuff like that. Murtala is replicating the same thing today in Tamale Center, even before he gets to Parliament. As I speak to you, there is a free extra classes that Murtala has consistently organized as a result of the COVID-19, and the children are at home. What his contribution to the children is to organize for them extra classes, and the people are
Enough of the
you understand?
So enough of the campaign. That's what. That's what campaign for yourself too. Hold on. No, we have a plethora of
You
issues.
see, if you give me the go ahead to campaign for myself, I will do that. Then I'm going to tell my people of a campaign not that, you see, this attitude of voting because of colors should stop.
Yeah, you should stop that in.
This attitude of voting because of colors, because of who or which house the person belongs to, should stop. Because look, if
You have a nation to build, though, Charlie.
Charlie, Master, if you have people who cannot lobby and bring developmental projects into the constitution, they should be kicked out. I told you the other day I was going through some principal streets in the constituency, and I asked myself, over the years we've been voting based on a particular color.
Which particular color is that?
Oh, you know, the blue, red, and white.
You mean MPP?
That's it. And at the end of the day, nothing is there to show.
So you want the PSC should come and take over everything?
Just don't.
That's why let me start with you on the next topic.
Don't look at the colors.
Okay.
Look at what is
The
inside
person
the
can
bottle.
do. That's why let me start with you on the next topic. Corruption. Kweku Adza Odike Pamela Akufo-Addo over Ghana's poor ranking. And we will marry that with the fact that Amadou is also accusing Akufo-Addo of sending killers after him, the crystal clearance, because, and I'm marrying these two topics because of the fundamental agreement that these stories have relative to corruption. Because the report that was sent to Murtala Mohammed is calling.
That's all. That's all. It's very simple.
Yes.
You need to
Hold on.
I would fact check him.
Murtala Mohammed. You want to call into the program? Okay. The producers will call you right away.
They should do.
All right.
They should do.
So let them come, Murtala Mohammed.
Kwame, these are some of the things I keep saying, that if we don't kick out MPP and NDC, all these things will not stop.
Okay.
Why would that stop?
Oh yes.
Truth.
No, it's not about the truth.
Talking about the truth. He's talking about boreholes constructed in the constitution in Thailand.
The people of
No, I'm saying that. But you also have the candidate. Then you tell us what your candidate did at Tamale Central. You understand? The premise on which this discussion is based on is what have you done before even asking the people?
Okay. Murtala there. Okay, no, Justice has his number. Just speaking from Justice up here.
Yeah. So
okay. Well, Honorable Naziru will give you the number, no problem. So that's why you are talking. So let's take it from Naziru.
yes. So like I'm saying, he said we should make the two corruption issues, Martin Amidu and what Professor
Professor Azar said.
Yes.
So the issue of corruption, and Odike has also raised that issue.
Well,
so we'll marry that with Amidu because of obviously the fallout from
Martin
the report, the corruption assessment report and things like that. So we'll look at that.
Okay.
By time, but let's go.
So Kwame, President Akufo-Addo did well by appointing special prosecutor. When he appointed the special prosecutor, the perception out there is that he was going to fight corruption. Even me, I said, oh well, once a special prosecutor has been appointed, then it means that the issue of corruption is going to go down. So the month that particular man was appointed, something happened. The perception based on corruption for Ghana, came down.
Yes, sir.
Now, what has gone wrong? Do you remember, and I quote, when the man was nominated and Parliament was vetting him, he made a statement that he cannot stay or live with criminals.
Who said that?
Martin
Martin
Amidu.
Amidu, yes, I remember.
He said he cannot stay and live with criminals.
Cannot dine.
And so, if for one reason or the other, this man has decided to resign, does it mean that MPPs are criminals? These are questions Ghanaians should ask. Does it mean that the presidency or whoever appointed him, in quote, some of them are criminals. We need to interrogate this statement that the man said, and we need to find out what really transpired for this man to just go and investigate just a particular, corruption case. And upon that corruption case, the man is even coming out to tell Ghanaians that his life is in danger. And I just heard a tape circulating that if anything happens to him, we should blame Akufo-Addo. Why?
Yesterday, he issued a statement. I just want to aid your conversation. Yesterday, he issued a statement, and the first paragraph of the statement was very instructive for me.
It's Mutawastil.
Yes. So they should try to enrich. Yeah, they should call him. They should call him because he's still calling. He made a statement to the effect that the Ghanaian of 2016 is not a Ghanaian of 2020 who will believe in the rhetoric of fighting corruption. He made that statement. So for me, it's very, very instructive, and I just wanted you to factor that into your conversation as well.
You see, you ask yourself these questions. What is it about some people that when issues come up and we want to talk about them, then in quote, something seriously then comes out in this nation? What is it about the clique around the presidency, the finance minister, the Osafo Mafos, the Gabis and co? What is it about them that when something comes up and it involves them, something happens in this country? I just don't get it. Are they really untouchable? If they are untouchable, then the president should come out and tell us that, look, for these people, I have placed them there. Nobody should touch them. If even they are doing corrupt issues, we shouldn't talk about it. Look at the Auditor General. When he wanted to investigate this man.
Honorable. Sorry, I can't see. Honorable.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How is Tamale?
Alhamdulillah, we are okay. We are doing very well.
You are you watching the show?
Well, my attention has been drawn to a legendary falsehood that has been peddled to your program, and this is not the first time. And I think that it is about time I responded to that. For the first time, I'm going to go hard on my senior brother, Sabo. I think that
No, it's not Sabo.
No, it's not Sabo. It's not Sabo. It's Drisu. But let's hear from you.
I think that my brother of this here this morning, actually, very good Muslim. If you don't know this, and don't sit on national television and peddle type falsehood. First and foremost, I started teaching extra class not today, and he is aware that when I was in Legon, every semester break I'll come and teach. And the testimony, including NPP people, are there. You should go and find out one of their teachers. I think that I taught in this school, I taught in Kamato, I taught extra class free at Novi School. But currently, if he is aware, he shouldn't incur the anger of the students who benefited from the extra classes I organized. I organized 3 extra classes long before COVID started. We were teaching it at Sakasaka. Interestingly, the school Dr. Baumia attended. We were also having one at Kulkuli School.
One at where?
Kulkuli School. So that was attended Methodist Primary. It's just by the Dongo, the Sabon Dongo, the House and Dongo. I organized 3 extra classes for kids there. I organized 3 extra classes for kids at Sakasaka. I organized 3 extra classes for kids, SSS students at Novi School. If he doesn't know, he should just keep quiet. The other one, I have boreholes currently, 5 boreholes. One is at Kemna Hill Sampani. You can get your people to go there and verify.
One at where? I'll get my correspondent to go there.
Kemna Hill Sampani, please. Don't peddle falsehood. Go and personally ask for forgiveness. One is at Kemna Hill Sampani. You can check, you can find your people to go and find out. 2 is at Johanna. One is at Sabungira, and one is at Bakuranwali. If he doesn't know, he should just keep quiet. 3, the idea of those things that I am doing are clear. If he doesn't know,
Honorable, we are losing you. Position yourself, or we are losing you.
Yeah, is it okay now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
I'm saying that my brother, he's a senior brother of mine, and he knows me too well. I don't peddle falsehood, and he knows. I'm saying that if you don't know anything, don't sit on national television and peddle such falsehood. As I talk to you, beneficiaries of this particular thing were angry. They called, hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Beneficiaries of the free extra classes. Can you allow me to make the point? I'm not there.
No, make your point. Go ahead.
Beneficiaries of the free extra classes. And some of the students who taught, they called and drew my attention. I'm not watching the program. And specifically, the extra classes was going on at Sakasaka. One was going on at Great Girls called Nobisora. One was going on at Kukul School. I was the one paying them. The whole.
Okay. Okay.
Two one is at the Kuranwell and one is at Sabunja. If he doesn't know, tell us he doesn't know.
All right, thank you. Honorable, because of time, I think we'll do that on the midday news.
So I would ask my brother, he should when he finished, he should perform now.
Okay, thank you. I think I've given you. At least in this regard, I have acted better than Martin Amidu. I've given you a fair hearing. Honorable, we're losing. We'll come back. We'll come back to you. We'll give you an opportunity.
No,
it's not Sabo. It's Idrisu Salifu protocol.
I'm not watching let that person not even know Tamale that well.
He knows Tamale very, very well. He knows Tamale very, very well.
He contested in 2012.
So he knows Tamale very well. But on the ticket of PNC, by the way. But thank you very much. We will reach out to you again because of time.
Yeah.
You are not responding today. I beg you because of time.
No, my God.
We have spent quite a considerable amount of time because he was not in the studio, and that's why I gave him the opportunity to also respond to this thing, right? Because you made those statements, he needed to also respond to it. So that's why I allowed it.
You see,
so you should allow that. No, please. My time actually.
Our corruption perception out there in the world is going to go high because we have a president who has decided to become a clearing agent. We have a president who has decided that look, when you bring issues of corruption against my appointees, I am not going to sack them, but rather I'm going to move them from one institution to the other. If you have a president who is not capable of putting his feet down, this is what happens. And so sometimes I ask myself whether the president is indeed in control of the affairs. Because look, a lot of things goes on, yet he just sits in his chair, relax, and then just say, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. For me, Martin Amidu's resignation has shown the whole world that really there is corruption in Ghana. And whenever you want to fight corruption, corruption rather fights you. That is what is happening. Because as we speak, Martin Amidu is somewhere hiding. Because at the end of the day, he's scared. He's afraid of his life. And so, Ghanaians, we are all watching. December 7th is just around the corner.
We should vote for PNC.
If you want, that is why my presidential candidate said that, look, if you are being caught act of corruption, he's going to shoot. The shooting doesn't mean he's going to kill you with a gun. But he will make sure he put you somewhere you cannot even come back and continue with your corrupt practices. I am trying to explain it better. Listen, I am trying to explain it better to you. You understand? Shooting doesn't mean you are going to shoot the person and kill the person. We are going to put you somewhere you cannot even come back. We are not going to make sure that if you go and involve yourself in visa fraud, we will remove you from that ministry and bring you to information ministry.
That wasn't
whereby
the
you
answer he gave.
Oh, come on. He is my presidential.
If Lesa asked him to clarify
he is my
that,
presidential candidate.
Are you ready?
Do you have
No,
Dr. Anya's number?
I am surprised.
So particular number is calling me, please. I don't know.
I am surprised because
So particular number is calling
I
me.
am surprised because if an elderly person is talking, it depends on how he speaks. You can come out with a speech, but at the end of the day, people out there may not understand what you said. But when you go deep, that is what it means. And I'm telling you that we are going to shoot people who indulge themselves in corrupt practices. We'll make sure that we don't transfer them from one ministry to the other, so that they will come and continue with their act of corruption. But rather, we'll keep them in a cage where they cannot even come back again. And if I keep you in a cage where you cannot even talk for people to hear, am I not killing you? Am I not killing you? If you involve yourself in corrupt practices and I put you in a cage where you cannot even reach out to anybody, what are you going to say?
Okay.
Will you tell me that I killed you? Already, you are dead.
That's what. Thank you very much. Already, you are dead. Let me come to you, comrade.
You see, I've always maintained, and my good friend here would attest to that, that when you find a group of people who will depend on water and dawadawa, water and dawadawa as the source to eat carbohydrates. And you understand? As the source to eat carbohydrate, and that is your meal. It is solely because there is someone who has denied you what you rightly deserve, and that is done through corruption. I am talking about corruption today in relationship to the MPP administration based on the solemn promise they made to us in a covenant that is through their manifesto of 2016. They made a profound statement here, and it is explicit. Indeed, they deepen that particular statement to change the font to lay in emphasis on the importance, and that is, I have it here.
No,
they
please.
deepen the font size to lay emphasis. And what does it say? And I if you give me the permission,
Please.
also under governance, corruption, and public accountability, what MPP told us is this: they would amend the relevant sections of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, particularly Section 3, Section 151, and Section 239 to 257, to make corruption a felony rather than a misdemeanor. Before coming to power, they see the punishment that they give to corrupt officials as not enough due to the standing of what do you call it, that act in our criminal code. And for that matter, they are going to do the necessary amendment to scare people, because when it's felony, the punishment is severe, to scare people from coming into corruption. Little did we know that these people have a long agenda to create an empire, and to create that empire, it must come from the resources of the state. If you deny my people in Chamba the water they would like to drink, and then you build your empire, you must bow down your head in shame. You've not worked hard for your money. You are counting and depending. You are being a parasite, depending on others for survival. If you denied the good people of Sanka, for instance, in the central region, water, electricity, basic amenities, and you build an empire of family, you are a disgrace to this country. If you continue in this direction, this country will come to a halt one day. And do you know who are going to suffer the most? Of all of us, we have people we call the religious people, and we are a religious country in Ghana, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, for me, as a politician, I've said what I want to say. I've been bold enough. I have my lapses, but I've been able to execute my mission as promised the good people of Ghana. Maybe the teacher has done his. You are a journalist. You have also executed yours. But there is one group of people, those are the religious leaders, whose mandate is to transform and give the good people of Ghana glory and mercy of God. they will be denied the opportunity to execute their job if we wait until this country is engulfed in turmoil. So why should they sit today without making any effort, without adding their voice to the call for us to halt this canker of corruption in our country? Corruption at the higher places leads to the economic depletion of the lower places. If today we can all witness, and just recently, I think all of us saw it, when a woman was carried to cross a river, a woman in labor was carried in a mat to cross a river with a motorbike also crossing the same river in order to be able to get the woman into the next nearest chip compound or health facility. This is a crime against humanity. If people would sit today and work in their mind, spirit, and heart that they would stifle this country of its limited resources, they deserve to be fired. They deserve to be at the firing squad by this time. Look, people are. I have met someone who told me point blank that he doesn't even know what is Momo. The emergence of the MPP administration has sent him borrowing from Momo to the extent that today he has been blocked. He can't borrow even a dime from Momo. This is the kind of situation we are talking about. And this person I'm talking about is not just walking about. He was working with a financial institution that through this negligence of this government, through the I've had such hypocritical stance of this government, that financial institution has been closed down. He is today depending on Momo for survival. And you sit here and tell me that we should continue talking just like that. I don't know what the Danso Akufo-Addo is still doing in office. I don't know. Should we even wait up to election with this crap? Look, it is on record today throughout this fourth Republican dispensation, and I even say throughout Ghana, there has never been a president who has been found by an institution of competent jurisdiction to be meddling in corruption than Danso Akufo-Addo. The Martin Amidu resignation letter clearly, explicitly stated that Mr. President, you came to meddle on behalf of your brother. When we were telling the good people of Ghana that you don't continue in the direction where family and friends forms government, we were not saying so because we hated the family and friends. We are saying so because they cannot control nepotism. That is what we meant. How come president of whole people would himself carry report or carry issues to the special prosecutor on behalf of his brother? Today, Martin Amidu is telling us the brother himself walked up to him even before he completed the report. What did they discuss? Martin Amidu is threatening to tell the good people of Ghana what they discussed. And you think it is normal? Look, it will be suicidal as much as it's a communal labor to ensure that on the 7th of December, that is if we can wait till then, on the 7th December, we come out in our numbers to send one message to every politician. You cannot take Ghanaians for granted. I rest my case.
I rest my case, says Naziru Mohammed. Let me now go to my brother and friend Idrisu Salifu Protocol, and with the greatest of respect, I know what you want to do. Stay on the subject matter. Focused. Fantastic.
So many.
No, stay on the. I know what you want to do. Stay on the. Politicians, I know you people. I beg you, because we don't have time. So
yes. Honorable Mutala knows very well that
corruption, Kwekwaza, Odike, Pamel Akufo-Addo.
No, but that's.
You see, that's no.
Lie.
Yeah.
You
disagree. You disagree. You can disagree with us.
Nobody even asks you for.
The good people of Tamale Central knows that
I think
he has lied.
Yes. I think you respect my platform.
I do.
So let's stay on.
I do.
With the grace of respect.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm coming from Sabonjira in Tamale Central constituency.
Okay.
So that the viewers would know that
we are Tamale proper.
Exactly.
Tamale boy.
Yes.
No problem.
Viewers will know that he once contested.
Oh, my brother. Now, let's listen to.
Today is campaigning for MPP.
Let's listen to the theatrics.
Yeah.
That's why he said we are serious.
Why am I?
Let's listen
It's
to
a fact.
No, let's respect his time. Let's respect his time. Please, senior.
Honorable Naziru have just exhibited, unnecessary theatricals here. Now, and I remember you know, when I was reading this particular literature by Frederick Engels and Karl Marx, that is the Communist Manifesto, and my brother and the NDC and their collaborators have actually portrayed what, you know, some of the pieces that these particular two gentlemen have said. They said that the socialists and the communists at a particular point in time behaves like the sorcerer who are no longer able to control the powers of another world that they have called up by their own spells. So that is exactly what my brother have demonstrated in the NDC collaboration. You understand? Let me tell you why I'm saying this. Look, Martin Amidu, of course, the NPP government said that we were going to ensure that corruption were actually going to be fought head on. We gave a series of promises in terms of how we were going to stem this particular tide. A very important of which was the establishment of the Special Prosecutor's Office. The NPP administration, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, were able to establish that office. We saw no less a person than Martin Amidu, who have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that he was a competent person for that particular job. Now bear in mind that Martin Amidu is not originally, or if you like, is not coming from any NPP persuasion. So if a government or a president did not intend to fight corruption, he would not bring somebody who is an outsider to come and solve that particular problem or conundrum. Now, a whole lot of impurities and red herrings has been brought to the fray to justify his decision to back out. But have any of us averted our minds to, you know, what is it called, to the response that has been issued by Nana Asante Bediatu? This for me has actually, you know, what is it called, ensured that the whole matter comes to the end. But let us interrogate certain things. My brother sitting here said that ever since in the history of this country, that he has never seen any president that has been cited for corruption and corruption-related activities.
Yes.
My brother, Manasseh Azuri Awuni, you know, what is it called, entered into a particular investigative piece that saw the sitting president to have been, you know, to have received bribe of fraud expedition. Now, what is called, a constitutional body was triggered to, as it were, to look into the matter. That particular constitutional body came out and indicted the sitting president. Now you sit here and say that
how do they
Lord have mercy. So you didn't read that.
It's not about me. Your listeners, your viewers.
So you see,
they want to know.
So these are some of the
it's
things.
Not about me.
You see, these are some of the things that
you tell them how he was indicted. I am telling you that Martin Amidu indicted president.
I know we are just only barely with 7 minutes.
He brought the.
So I will not allow you. I will not allow you to translate my food.
Martin Amidu.
He will not. He should be fair to me.
Make his point, please.
Yes,
we are allowing him.
People were
the viewers.
Please.
How John Mahama was indicted.
Well, after his submission, I'm sure you respond. Please, let's.
People had the occasion to question why the finance minister was quoted by, you know, Martin Amidu to have visited him in his house, and they are trying to make a capital, you know, gain out of that, and I laughed. My brother, you are a lawyer, Mr. Keudi. I mean, you are a student of law.
Yes.
Of course, there is something that, you know, lawyers describe as prohibited ex parte communication. Prohibited ex parte communication, because the NDC are trying to draw that particular analogy to that particular issue, where the finance minister visited Martin Amidu. That particular concept does not come to play, because in the normal,
you know what they discuss.
My good brother,
let him
please.
No, but we can't allow this to go on. If you know what they discuss, you state it explicitly. These are the reasons why this does not apply here.
I am trying to bring out.
No, he's making an argument.
Can you imagine this?
Let him build it.
What is that?
He's making an argument based on a false premise. Based on a false premise. We cannot build on that. I am saying
the determination
the
of which does not lie in us.
Yes, but he has determined. He has determined.
We don't know where he's taking the argument, so let him just.
I know he's trying to tell us and all the viewers, throw dust into our eyes. If he knows what Martin Amidu and the said finance minister discussed at that visit, he should tell us, because Martin Amidu has not mentioned to us. We don't know. How can he run into conclusion?
Respectfully, sir.
Yes,
I'm with you. No.
Yes, I know you are with me. So,
Idrisu, so I'm not with you.
Oh no, you are only trying to buy time so that muddy the waters. Exactly. He's only trying to muddy the waters.
I think they are not being fair to you.
Yes.
To be honest,
let's move on.
So yeah, we are moving on. We are moving on. I'm exposing the hypocrisy and and all these counter claims. So when he went to meet him, do you remember that the president insisted that Martin Amidu should try and give them a fair hearing? In law, in legal maxim, it is called odi otrim partem. You understand? That is a very basic legal concept that every serious lawyer should know. You cannot push out a particular case against me and indict me without hearing my side of the story.
Was John Mahama heard on the issue of airbus?
Can you imagine this?
What can
you imagine this?
I'm helping you so that you make it.
You understand?
John Mahama heard on the issue of the airbus.
Talk to me.
So these are the critical issues that I think that people should look into the crystal balls and know that there is a particular certain mischief. Now, Martin Amidu.
Can I ask you a question on that? Just on that.
Please do.
Because you made references to the rules of natural justice.
Yes.
But the rules of natural justice also says that you cannot be a judge in your own cause.
Exactly.
The president himself was cited in that report to have given assent to a particular act, which act usurped, if you will, the functions of parliament. Because in one of the paragraphs, he made the point that the president used his executive orders to assent to the mineral investment fund, which had not at the time gained parliamentary recognition and approval and things like that. So it means that the president himself was involved in that process. Now, if the president himself was involved in that process, for which reason he decided to factor, his action in that report, then on what basis will the president now, who himself was indicted in that particular report, request of Martin Amidu to have a conversation with the finance minister to get an appropriate response from the finance minister in respect of this subject matter? Also, with the greatest of respect to you, does it lie in the mouth of the president to direct Martin Amidu to ask the finance minister to respond to a report that he intended to investigate into? Does it lie in the mouth of the president? Does the president have power to go and tell, for instance, the electoral commissioner that the electoral commission, as an independent body, I'm telling you that let me win 2020 elections? Does it lie in the mouth of the president to go and tell the auditor general that, auditor general, I want you to audit this in respect of this matter in a certain way? The office of the special prosecutor, which was set up by Act 959, was set up in a manner that will allow for some semblance of independence to operate, so that we can have public agencies and public people who occupy some public positions who, by their very own act, are found to have engaged themselves in corruption and corruption-related matters, investigated and subsequently prosecuted if there's enough evidence adduced to support that allegation, right? So the president, with the greatest of respect to you, sir, in my opinion, did not have that power, even though he's a president and he could exercise his executive powers under Article 58(1) of the Constitution. But on this particular score, the president himself did not have the right to direct Martin Amidu to seek responses from the finance minister before finalizing his report.
So you see how you have couched the whole conversation. You have couched it in such a way that people listening to you would think that that was exactly what transpired. The president, under no circumstances within this particular case, directed or have sought to direct Martin Amidu to, by all means, listen to the
with respect to you, I will tell you portions of the responses from government that states clearly that the president did what Martin Amidu alleged him to have done.
Please read those portions for me.
Okay, I won't read it. The portion that tells you that the president, by reason of his executive power given to him under Article 58(1),
yes,
could ask the finance minister to respond to portions of the allegation leveled against the finance minister by Martin Amidu. So on the basis of the singular act of even making the point in your response that the president, by reason of having the powers under Article 58, could have done that, it means that there was some request that was made, which request was corroborated by Martin Amidu's allegation that the president himself directed him to and in fact the president gave him copies of the response of the finance minister to incorporate same in his own report. So your own response is clear.
So you see, Mr. Kiodi,
yes,
I appreciate all what you are saying, but believe you me, everything boils down to the rules of natural justice in this particular kinds of what is it called, investigative processes. You cannot sidestep any legal requirement so that at the end of the day you are able to produce a particular report that would be questionable. So for me, for people to suggest that the president sought to direct Martin Amidu actually fall flat. He did not in any of those particular conversations. He didn't do that. What he only wanted to do was to, as it were, more of a moral suasion for Martin Amidu to listen to the other side. That is the OD uttering pattern.
If the person had been sent to court, they would have been given that opportunity to come and respond to matters. That is why it's an investigative.
That is how come even Martin Amidu admitted that indeed what he is currently doing did not constitute any form of criminality or whatever. That he was only making
this was a response from Asante Bedier too. We also don't know whether or not that is what it is.
So you see,
no, but you see, you are seeking to rely on the response of
that is what exactly for me. That is exactly
to also appreciate the allegations or the issues raised in Martin Amidu's own submission in terms of the subject matter.
No,
Martin Amidu tells you,
yes,
and it is very clear in I think paragraph 2 or 3 of Martin Amidu's resignation letter.
Yes,
that the president asked him to halt the release of that report, right, for a week. Now, he said that the president sought on the basis of that to interfere in a work which he intended to investigate. The key word is he intended to investigate. You and I sitting here, and like the maxim, even there's a legal definition that even the devil does not know the intention of man. Yes. So the man Akufo-Addo sitting there couldn't have known the intention of Martin Amidu but him. He, Martin Amidu himself, could have known his intention. Now his intention is clear, it's palpable, and it's only palpable because he has sought to put out an information which goes to confirm that he indeed intended to investigate that matter, because in that resignation letter that he wrote to the president, he stated that I intended to investigate into this matter, but for your interference. So it is on the basis of all of this that we are saying that the president himself is complicit in the matter. The president is complicit in the matter.
Kwame,
hold on. Let him make sure. Let's address the issue. He's also bringing out his document. I don't have any documents here. Now I've read both documents extensively.
What I am trying
to
say.
No, please let him make.
Listen to this particular answer to the mischief that the NDC and their collaborators want us to believe. If you look at paragraph,
if you look at me under that, because I'm the one asking the question.
And believe you me,
what they've been telling Ghanaians.
Martin Amidu even have actually sought to characterize people who sought to say, to suggest that they are fighting corruption, as he labeled them as what is it called, corruption entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
you understand. And then for him, he thinks that he is what is it called? Somebody who is coming to fight corruption. So he described himself as a citizen vigilante. So it means that and of course we have to interrogate that, because there are people who sought to benefit from this so-called, anti-graft something. But I want to avert your mind to paragraph 40 of the responses that was given by Nana Asante Bedua in respect of that.
You spoke.
Paragraph 40. This was what he said. Finally, you also accuse the president of being a judge in his own cause. This is the unkindest cut of all. You did not and have not alleged that the president is or could be the subject of adverse findings or investigations arising from your assessment report of the Ejepa transaction. It begins belief, therefore, that you would insinuate that the president has himself something to hide and seek to be a judge in his own cause. As a lawyer of many years standing, there is no doubt that you know that if one is not a party to or has an interest in a matter, one simply cannot be described as a judge in his own cause. That statement is most regrettable.
Yes, but
That is
but
the most-
but
You understand?
this is a very sharp response.
No,
Because he himself, no, but he cited the president.
are you constituting another? Are you
the man you are talking
no,
about as responding to Martin Amidu himself is his own cause of
Mr. Kiro,
because his
Mr.
young friends
Kiro.
are part of the people sharing the
can you imagine
Ghana.
this?
Why
should you say this?
Why am I saying it? But is his wife not part of the owners of the what do you call it?
Are you going to allow this?
I said, is his wife, that man, did he bring technology? Is he the president? Is his wife not part of the owners of the technology? He himself is guilty. That is what we are telling you. So don't think this is
No one is guilty until proven. Everybody should have said that to proven otherwise.
Alaji cannot intimidate me.
I'm saying this is the principle. And an astute lawyer like the Nambedi finds answers and mistakes in what Martin Amidu has done. What they should do is quickly take him to court. That is what they've told us. That anything that happens will go to court. They should go to court.
I know you are behind time. I think that
My time is up, so I'll come to him.
I think that all in all, this is a very important issue that cool heads must come. I believe that it's unfortunate that at this particular stage Martin Amidu decided to resign. That is very, very typical, unfortunate. And going forward, this particular issue should not rest. Any other person who thinks or believes that there is some corruption that has actually gone, within this particular Ejepa transaction, of course,
You go to court.
citizens have the right. Is that okay? You understand? I mean, we should not belittle. That is how come that if you look, people have to have confidence in the legal regime.
Yeah, but you don't.
People have to have confidence in the legal regime. That is this particular
They have done. They have
was to
made
listen to the other side of the case.
Thank
That is all.
Thank you.
Kwame,
Next
in
one.
summary, all these long talks, all these big English, all these court issues,
Long sentences.
and what have you. When my grandmother, who is in the village, my people who are close to me in my village, when they ask me,
you play to
why
the
has
gallery.
Martin Amidu resigned? Simple and plain English.
Exactly.
He was trying to fight corruption, and
corruption
then corruption are fighting him. And who are the corrupt people who are fighting him? They will be asking this question. Let's address to this question. You see,
Thank you.
the point is that the old man in the village would like to find out.
In a minute.
Oh, but the longest the only thing one can tell the old man or the old lady in the village is that the president appointed the man to come and fight corruption. Now, this same president, this same man trying to fight corruption has resigned. Why has he resigned? Because he tried to investigate an issue involving the family and friends. And at the end of the day, he decided that he cannot
He catalogs reasons why he resigned.
You see,
But one among them was that his office was not resolved.
My time.
They have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that
We will have to come back.
No, we have to discuss this issue again.
Certain key point. You see, collectively as Ghanaians, Martin Amidu today is talking about the danger that is facing his life. Let's see what we can do to continue ensuring that he is protected, because we have seen what happened to Ahmed Swale. It is as a result of this same corruption investigation that he did that saw him dead today.
Untimely death,
Yeah. We saw what happened to the Auditor General.
Okay.
I mean, he's out because he's investigating another family member and many such things. And then the fact that Martin Amidu sought to mention, I don't know if people are taking their attention there, the death of former President Rawlings in this whole Buhaha tells us that there is more for us to start asking. I mean, we need to ask questions. I mean, what the linkage? What does that mean? What does that supposed to mean? Does that supposed to mean there is more to the death that we don't know? I mean, these are questions we need to begin to ask. Any rational person will begin to ask the same question.
Right.
And the last is the fact that, see, if Martin Amidu, who are shown to be tough, who everybody knows he's a no-nonsense man,
Vigilante
is saying
Has
today
resigned.
that is saying to us today that the president attempt meddling in his business. What can we say about the electoral commissioner who attends meetings of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo female appointees? What can we say about that?
Thank you very much. My time is up. I can't even unfortunately read your messages. I'm hurt, but my time is far spent. Tomorrow actually, we will be starting our election focus on Pan-African television. Our election focus will be starting tomorrow from 6 p.m. I believe, and it's going to be very exciting. We're going to have with us Felix Ofosu-Kwakye and possibly Hanan Abdul Rahman, who is the CEO of Buffer Stock, to also join us tomorrow. It's going to be very, very exciting. You don't want to miss it. Also tomorrow, Alaji and Alaji will be up from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. It's been an absolute pleasure serving you this whole week. I've been treated to some very wonderful viewership. I want to say thank you especially to everyone who chose Pan-African Television. Thank you to the gentleman we spoke to in Liberia, Malcolm B. Weller, for giving us a proper insight into what is happening in Liberia. We thank you, and thank you to my panelists in the studios. I really appreciate your time here. Desmond, to Salifu Protocol, aka Protocol, and to our very own Naziru as well. Thank you guys for your time, and thank you Mutala Mohammed for also calling into the show. We appreciate you, and I think I'm sad leaving you today, to be honest. I wish we could spend more time. I mean, my viewers, or not you people. But I hope Monday comes quickly so I can spend quality moments with you on the morning show. My name is Kwame Owusu. So let me greet a few people before I exit here. A special good morning to the general manager of Rage Royal Hotel. You are watching us this morning. Special good morning to you. You are watching us. And also to all the doctors and nurses at the Spintex Community Hospital. All the doctors, all the nurses, the cleaners, the security persons there, special good morning to you. Also to Alhaji Baba Seidu Isifu, we're grateful to you for everything. And also to all my friends, my colleagues who are out there working tirelessly to ensure that we bring to you quality reportage in respect of the elections. Sani Adib is a security expert. Good morning to you, Sani Adib, and thank you very much for everything as well. I'll see you guys on Monday. I apologize for not being able to read your messages. Take it from me, I really do apologize. But I'll see you guys on Monday, and I'll try my best to read as many messages as possible. It's been beautiful spending the whole of this week with you. It's been a pleasure serving you. And thank you to my team, the camera guys, to the sound guys, to the directors. And I don't often do this, but I think it's important that I do that sometimes. My grandmother died, and the 1 week will be on Tuesday, the 24th of November. I will be in Elmina So if you're in Elmina and it's enclave, if you're in Takrady, you want to just come to Elmina to come and meet me, why not? Make sure you bring your nose mask because I don't want any corona business there. You know, but I'll be in Elmina sometime Tuesday, and you know, on Cape Coast and all of that. Right. I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye bye.